Welcome to Shapers of the Snow, a show dedicated to the small independent builders handcrafting skis and snowboards around the world. We sit down with the shapers to hear how they got started, the art behind their craft, the real challenges they face, and what continues to fuel their passion for creating shapes for the snow. Grab a beer or a coffee, and let's get on with the show. Hello, everyone. Today we have Chad from.
Sunrise Snow Surf.
And how you doing today?
I'm doing good. How about you, Josh?
So, start off, how do you get into paddle surfing? Like, what brought you into that sport?
I have been snowboarding for, like my or since a kid, and moved out west from Pennsylvania and just kind of got into, like, some friend had a no board and like that was cool. But then in 2017, I just decided to like make a pow surf because the mountains, and I was living in Tahoe, and the mountains and stuff got real busy all the time, and I wanted to just ride in my neighborhood. And like days that it was snowing a lot and avalanche danger was high, I just have like something to do, and so I wouldn't like be tempted to like go and get into dangerous conditions, or sit in traffic for 5 hours or something to go to the resort. Yeah, and then it just evolved from there. Been working on them for a decade. I started building them out of wood now, and that slowly evolved into what they are now, which is composite foam and fiberglass, some carbon fiber. But yeah, that's where it started, how it evolved, and yeah, out of the passion for surf and snow, that's for sure.
So that's kind of what made you realize you want to start doing it, was just the resorts were too packed and backcountry was a little too dangerous.
Yeah, I don't know. I just got in a couple like sketchy days in the backcountry, trying to score good conditions and like stuff like that. Yeah, it was a way to kind of just like fill that void of like riding stuff without bindings. It's like an easier slope becomes harder, and I just felt like it was more of a challenge to. It was like learning how to do like snowboard all over again. So it was humbling, and naturally was getting older, so kind of like just wanted to like not put myself into real risky situations anymore. And then also, like, when the icon pass happened, it was great, but for the Tahoe area, it just made it so crazy busy, and the window that you had to go and like score good conditions or fresh tracks or whatever just got narrower and narrower. So I decided, I'm just gonna like lean into the pow surf thing, and it opened up like people that like slopes you can't even ski on or snowboard on become fun with a pow surf. So ended up like realizing that there's a ton of terrain that's not even touched that you can have fun on, or what, like, if you want to get extreme you can as well. But yeah, kind of just like wanted to mellow out in life in general, and that was like my passion project, and it just kept going and going, and now it's like one of my main things in life.
Yeah, I can see that. Definitely, your boards are pretty awesome looking.
Thanks, man, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Then, but like you got in something sketchy in the backcountry. Was that because you kept trying to go further back because there were so many people around?
It wasn't necessarily further. It was like a well-known area, and like places on Castle Peak on Donner Summit. I was just out with like a bunch of people camping at a hut. The one morning we woke up and decided it was like snowing, real weird texture, grapple and like powder, and blowing really hard back in there and stuff. And there was 8 of us, and everybody just decided that we were gonna like go on a hike anyway. There's like this ridge, and we came up out of the trees, and like the whole slope like broke on us, and it buried 3 people, and no one got injured or anything, but it was like a wake up call enough to be like, all right, if you want to score like powder, you can't do it whenever you want, or you want to do it in the moment. Like, for me, it's just not worth like going out into bigger terrain to like get in trouble during that time, like there's always like good times to go. But the pow surfing sort of like just keeps you in a safer zone because naturally you don't want to hike like thousands of vertical feet on them like straight, you know, like you can go and like session a little area, maybe not take go and boot pack it so you get like a real good workout and stuff, like ride for a few hours and you're good. But yeah, it's definitely it's cool the way it opens terrain up, and instead of like just thinking like we're gonna go to this summit and ride this line, you know, it's kind of like you just go wherever you see something that looks fun.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. I power surf too. I've made a couple, and yeah, just be driving around and see a golf course. We're like, all right, let's go hit that.
Right, totally.
Yeah, it's fun. It opens up a lot more than a snowboard, and yeah, it's definitely just it's challenging.
It is in a more subtle way, you know, like not it's not necessarily as extreme, like things going by you and speed and like the gravity of it, but like it's more smaller movements and like more sensitivity to like everything, you know.
Yeah, just one little bump to throw you off your line.
For sure. Or yeah, like variable snow, or like some like you might think that the snow's deep there but there's ice under it, and even that makes it become sometimes uncontrollable. And
When you're designing a board, what are you thinking about when you're designing it? Are you thinking float, speed, maneuverability, stable? How do you come up with the design pretty much?
I'm definitely inspired by the surfboard hand shapers, specifically some of the Australian guys. I don't really know like names off the top of my head, but thing is like speed and style, and that's kind of what I go for too, is just having a shape that is going to be like quick, because you definitely want like acceleration, especially if the runs aren't as long and things like that, to be able to do whatever you want to do, like turns and slashes and whatnot. But yeah, I kind of go for speed, style, and like more of a modern like surfboard like appeal and like look and vibe, you know. Don't really put like a lot of pow surfs are like skateboard inspired, and I'm kind of like not really want to be doing tricks on them or shove it's, or like I mean ollies maybe here and there, but you know, like more just like a high performance speed machine that also handles super well. They're buttery too, like they don't track really, or they track, it's weird. They track because they're real responsive, so the edges feel good, but like at the same time, they're like a little bit like loose and playful.
So stable, but get them loose when needed, so you can be like you can haul speed and just make a good slash, pretty much, right?
Right, right, yeah. And that's good for like in trees and, you know, like whatever. Like if you can't be above the tree line all the time, it's kind of nice to be able to maneuver around and have it feel like real buttery and whatnot. But at the same time, like they can handle like steep stuff and stay pretty rigid.
Have you taken them on pretty steep terrain?
Yeah, in Mammoth definitely took some like some steeper runs, maybe not sustained for like super far, but yeah, I mean it's kind of like they perform better when they can open up like a lot more, you know. And they do low angle stuff super well too, as far as like speed and stuff's concerned. That's super fun because you can take a slope that might people are just like snowshoeing or like sledding on, and you can turn it into something that feels like you got a little bit of speed and an adrenaline rush from it and stuff.
Make a little tiny hill exciting.
Right.
3D shaping for like the base. Are you Do you have something locked in, or are you still experimenting with what designs and how you channel the snow out of the board, or do you have something that you just kind of go with every time?
I've done a bunch of different ones over the years, and I have it narrowed down to like three different ones. That's sort of like what I think I'm gonna roll with for this year. But yeah, and then like there's one style in surfboard shaping called edge bottom, which is basically just like instead of your edge like going all the way down to meet the surface that you're sliding on, it is just like angled up a tiny bit, like a convex like channel, like, and that goes down along the edges, and all that does is like it starts the transfer of your edge back and forth like faster because it's like sitting in the snow a little bit more. That's just something that I experimented with last year, and I really like the feel of it. And some people like them for like surfing, and some people don't because they do feel like a little bit looser. But in the snow, that's kind of nice because snow is like still got a little bit of texture, like surface tension to it and stuff, you know?
Hmm. The edge, a little concave, then it has like a little tiny lip on the edge.
Right. Yep.
Okay. So kind of like when it sits in the snow, so you already have the engagement. So when you go to turn, it's already kind of locked in.
Totally.
Okay.
But at the same time, it's like if you are looking at the board from the front and the board is right side up, it's like there's the bottom edge, sort of like an inch and a half from the rail,
Hmm.
is like angled up like towards the top of the board just a tiny bit. Instead of having the rail wrap all the way down and meet the sliding surface, it's kind of like off the side of the rail is off the sliding surface a tiny bit, and that allows it looks like more of a spoon shaped sort of from the front. So instead of like being a flat plane across the bottom, it's sort of like spooned out a tiny bit.
Rocker, but across the profile of the board.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's you know, depending upon if you make some like fins or something, like, or double concave in the back with like a little fin down the middle, you can sort of like make them track a little bit more than they would if they didn't have like a double concave out the tail. So it's just a fun base contour that, yeah, like I said, experimented with last year, and I think I'm gonna do like 30% of that, 30% of like the next two, and then maybe experiment with like a little couple boards this year. But yeah, I mean it's hard because I try to make the contour like match the board shape too. So like that's another thing is like not they don't all work together. And that's sort of like a puzzle that I figure out like every time. But yeah, it's getting narrowed down. I have like six total shapes that over time are like sort of the favored ones, and then maybe three of those are at the top, and then a combination of those three base contours kind of like make it all.
Shape wise, wide nose, kind of a pintail, or have you messed around with that a lot, or is that pretty much dialed into?
Yeah, I mean there's a bunch of them. There's like I have like a fish that's a hybrid, kind of more, instead of coming like straight out the tail to a fish tail, it goes like it's going to round the tail off, and then like a more shallow swallowtail in there. And then, yeah, I have a pintail that has more. Last year it didn't have as pinned of a tail, but this year I like brought that in a little bit more, and I'm kind of excited about that. I have a moon tail. I have like this funky, like a couple funky like wing pin tails with like a more of a boxy nose on them, you know, like how snowboarder companies are kind of doing that like box nose with like the triangle at the top sort of thing. And that's been like a favorite like last year. A lot of people like that one. So, but yeah, there's like five or six of them. There's like two different renditions of that wing pin tail. Yeah, I have this other one that's kind of like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's got like a rounded tail with a point, and then the nose is really, instead of pointy, it's like wide and rounded, and it's sort of like an experimental shape, but it's super playful. Maybe not like much edge hold because the tail rounds off super hard. The fish and the pin and that wing pin are like my favorite three, and kind of like the best performing ones out of all the ones that are available.
When you sell boards and hear from customers, you hear kind of the same thing from them.
Yeah, I mean everybody that's bought them so far, and I haven't sold many to be honest, like maybe like 20. Last year though, it really started, we sold a bunch of them until January when the snow sort of turned off out here. But before that, like they were kind of going good, and I had the same pretty much shapes as last year, the same shapes this year as I had last year, and nothing but positive feedback. That wing pin though, like definitely two guys were like, this thing is like super fast and like handles real well and floats super nice and stuff.
Yeah, that's what you want to hear.
Right. But yeah, honestly, they all work super good. I mean, it's just like the shapes are fun. Where you can really feel the difference is like the tails. You know what I mean? Like if those pintails are super playful, which is cool, up to the fishtail like has more edge hold and is better like in a steeper condition type of deal.
You use foam. You said you started with wood. Why did you switch over to foam, and what benefits have you seen from using foam?
I started with wood. I bought a couple blanks from like a guy locally that was making them, and then I started making some of my own, and they were nice. They just I don't really know. It's like wood sinks and foam floats kind of deal. And so yeah, one day I was just like sitting there thinking, and I'm like, I wonder what would happen if I like made one the way surfboards are made. Because I had like some experience in composites from when I was like younger and stuff, and I had built like a surfboard or two. And so I just thought maybe it would be like a thing, and made a couple. They didn't have base material on like the ones I have now, like waxed in the right condition and stuff. They were super fun and super playful and like light to carry. So it kind of started from that, and then changing the glassing schedule over the years, and like I switched to foam. I used to get like recycled or people's like trash surfboards, and I would grind them down with a plane or like rip the glass off and stuff, and then like carve the board down with like a planer and sandpaper, and it took forever. Like 2 years ago, I switched to doing EPS foam, and I like hot wire cut the blanks out the same way the surfboard guys hot wire cut blanks, so I can slice them, and like not, it still takes time, but like nowhere near as much time as like recycling or upcycling a surfboard into a pow surf, you know? And yeah, I kind of took it from there. And now like the glassing schedule's pretty dialed as far as like durability versus weight and performance and things like that.
You put base material on it, just like standard snowboard base material.
Yep. Yeah, and actually I've been doing that for like maybe 3 or 4 years, and it got pretty hard to find because there was like two companies in the United States that were selling base material like wide enough for pow surfs, and they both went out of business like in the same year. Another company, Sandwich Tech, you might or may not have heard of them, but yeah, so they started carrying like pow surf specific base material that's like wider, like 14-inch or 15-inch wide stuff, just to be able to make sure you're where you need to be. I was like, this is kind of weird, you know, like the guy, they're starting to carry the pow surf base material, and like it might as well just be a standard because it helps with durability. Even the wooden ones with the urethane, or if they're like epoxy coated on the bottom and sanded, like they still have like a lot of vulnerability to like heat and cold, and then that just makes them sticky or whatever, you know. And the base material is definitely cures that for sure. Like it makes them super fast and in all conditions too, even like hot slush.
And have you ever contacted Crown Plastics?
I haven't. No,
No.
I've heard of them before. I looked into ISO Sport and like Junk Supply. I was buying a bunch of stuff from Junk Supply before, and that's cool because it's still decently priced, but it takes like a month to arrive. And but they have a large variety of like wider materials, and like wider and thinner, and like wider and thicker, like more than than we do in America. What's Crown Plastics? They make base materials too, huh?
That's why who I use. They were based in Ohio, and they make 4001 Duro Surf.
Oh, nice.
The high end stuff they make that, and they also have a website store too.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'll write that down because it's definitely a little bit of a hustle to get base material sometimes. But like I said, that sandwich tech guy, he definitely has a lot of cool stuff now.
Oh yeah, they're ripping. They're about an hour and a half from here.
Oh, that's
We're
cool.
up to their shop. It's a nice shop they got set up there.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. I'm glad because it's like where else are we gonna be able to get it?
yeah. I know the ski lab is dead, and that's been dead for a long time. That was based on your area in California.
Right. Yep. Yeah, and then snowboardmaterials.com,
Yeah.
if you remember them. They were actually, I didn't even know it, but like when we moved to Joshua Tree, I like ordered from them and their package showed up and it said like they were like down in Palm Springs or something like that, or Palm Desert. So I thought that was weird. But yeah, I'm like, wow, I can't believe those guys went out of business because they were like the guys for as long as I was making stuff.
For fiberglass, are you using like different weights, different triax, biax, or are you just using standard like marine fiberglass?
So I use a combination. It sometimes depends on how I'm feeling and what I want to make, but right now it's like I make the blank and shape the blank and board and stuff. And then I do like a layer of 4 ounce glass over that to like stiffen it because if you would like I put everything in a vacuum bag after that. And so like if you would vacuum bag just epoxy and the foam, it would like melt the foam and crush it. You have to do like a layer to harden it. And I do the 4 ounce there and kind of like scuff it, sand it down a little bit. On top of that's a 12 ounce biaxial, and then a 4 ounce over that to like lock it in. And all of that gets done inside the vacuum bag. I used the glass with like a 23 and it was decent, but just super rigid. But at the same time, like the boards wouldn't ding. These boards, like, it's unlikely that they'll ding on the bottom unless you like hit a rock super hard or something, but sometimes they'll get like pressure dings on the top under your like where the spikes and stuff for your feet are, but it's kind of rare.
Those the spikes, I saw those. How do you make those? Are those fiberglass or are those shaped into the top of the foam?
No, they're just epoxy like pyramids. So you can buy like a mold, they're like chocolate molds. But yeah, just little epoxy pyramids. And I was doing like the traction stuff that is pretty common in the industry. But I just wanted to show like the whole board and not have like a big like piece of foam on there or whatever other traction pad that just takes away from like the aesthetics and stuff. But yeah, surprisingly, I thought that they'd be slippery, but they're pretty tacky and they work super well. But yeah, just make these little pyramids out of and like pour the epoxy in there and pop them out, glue them on one by one, and then I hot coat a layer of like epoxy over that whole thing once those are on, and it like seals them in there so they don't look like they're glued on. They look like they're like part of the board.
Yeah, they definitely look like the part of the board. I was looking at them like, are those hand shaped? I couldn't really tell.
I actually used to do that. Like I had like a weird mold and I would like sand everyone down and stuff. It was too much. So like I found these like cheap like pyramid. I don't even know if they are chocolate molds or what they are, but they're like silicone pyramid things that come out pretty perfect every time.
Yeah, they look pretty cool.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I needed to figure something out. The traction is like an issue because foam definitely the snow sticks to it. That can kind of get annoying, especially if it's like variable. If it's not like cold powder, like Sierra conditions, just heating up, cooling down, and then before you know it, you have like an ice chunk stuck on there, and you forgot to bring anything with to scrape it off, and things like that. So yeah, the epoxy's nice because it just like snow doesn't stick to it at all. It just kind of like falls off of there.
Yeah, it makes it so you can ride longer.
Right, yeah.
You're saying you run a vacuum bagging? What kind of vacuum pump do you have?
I just have like a cheap like Amazon one. It's real similar to like a Harbor Freight style.
So it has the oil.
Yeah, it has the oil and whatnot, and it gets kind of messy, like my setup's like super like garage builder style, I guess you could say. I mean, the pump works pretty good. You don't have to really get it down to like crazy levels, so I just kind of look for it as soon as the base material's like sucked into where it needs to be. All the like epoxy is like wet everywhere on the layers in there, and I just like stop like pulling vacuum on it, so I don't like overdo it.
I started off with a vacuum pump like that, but recently we got autoclave one. Oh, life changing.
Or theirs don't have oil, huh?
No oil, and you can set the pressure to wherever you want. As soon as it hits it, turns off. If it detects air, kicks back on, turns back off.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
like that's something, because once in a while I'll buy vacuum bags that are like folded up and they'll be leaky. So I'll have to just like monitor the pump like the whole time that I'm waiting for it to cure, which is kind of annoying, but I mean it's fine. Like I like being around the board while it's cooking.
One thing I've noticed with like snow surfing is the last 10 years, it's more popular. More brands have boards, like Burton has them, Jones has them. Have you noticed that with like where you are, that more people are doing it?
But yeah, well, dude, Mammoth is crazy. Like, just like everyone's into it. The gnarliest ski mountaineer guy who like never snowboards, like pow surfs. Everyone, like it's wild up there. But yeah, definitely California's got quite the scene for it. Everyone had like, even where I started making them in Truckee, actually, by the time I was moving out of there, you'd go out and see like three or four people or more than that at like the little spots with bindingless boards, whether it was a pow surf or like a snowboard that they rigged to be able to do it. It's definitely been more and more and more like the last 10 years. And in the last 2 or 3 years, I feel like the popularity is just gaining because everybody wants that. The mountain is so crazy, like to go in line, and now weekdays are like the weekends when it's firing. So I just see more and more people like wanting to do it and wanting to be like, oh my god, it's like a 4 foot powder day at Mammoth, Bluebird, like the sun is shining, but like I don't want to go to the hill. Like I'd rather go hike around and pow surf and stuff. And yeah, I feel like it's more popular than it's ever been, which is super cool.
And then, are you noticing that on your end, like people getting more interested in what you're doing?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And I've been trying to grow the social media and get better at content and like things like that to be able to share like the work more and stuff. And I mean, most of like the boards that I build and they move out of here, like people are buying them over Instagram that are strangers and stuff, and that's never happened before last year. And yeah, and I see other people like I feel like there was a big pulse of like home builders a decade ago, 2018, for like a year or two, and then it was because of the COVID or whatever, but kind of like everyone stopped making content and stuff. And now I feel like the last 2 years, like people are starting back up again. So that's pretty like inspiring to see.
Yeah, people getting back into the shop
Right.
and back out on the
Yeah.
hill.
Yeah. And some ski resorts out west are starting to let them like on the lifts, which is cool. Like there was some content I saw this yeah, like December or something. And like, I don't know who it was, but there's like a ski resort in Utah that there's like four dudes that were on pow surfs, like riding the lift. Like, yeah, this is like the first time. So like once that happens, which it probably will more and more, I just feel like we're still at the very beginning of it all. Even though big companies are making boards and whatnot, it's just like people are getting more familiar with it and realizing like there's not, like there are hand shapers that you can like buy stuff from, and a lot of people in California are like, and probably where you live too, are familiar with like surf culture, and like they know like handmade from machine or factory made or whatever, and people are like conscious of that. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see it because like not many people hand build snowboards. You know, it's super hard to do, or hard to like make any like keep a business alive with it if you're just making a handful or whatnot.
Passion labor, pretty much.
Yeah, for sure.
It's good that people are getting back into it, and yeah, I'm noticing that this area too. Shops are carrying boards in the shop. I've checked them out. Like Darkside had a whole little section of power servers this year, and that was kind of cool to see.
That's sweet. Yeah, we every year we do this health and wellness fair in Mammoth, like help our friend out. And last year was the first year that I took the boards there. And I don't know if you know Wave Rave, the snowboard shop in Mammoth, but it's real iconic. And this guy Steve Klassen owns it, and he's a legend too. He just like comes up to the booth. He's like, "Whoa, these are cool," and I didn't know who he was at all. You know, he ended up like bringing like three of the boards into Wave Rave, and he was all like, "Yeah, these things are sick. Like, it makes my store look cool, you know." And they have like a whole little Pal Surf section too with my boards and you know a couple Joneses and one of JG's boards from like back when he was still making them and stuff. So yeah, I mean they have like a pretty hype little zone for the Pal Surf stuff in Wave Rave, which is cool because that's like the shop that is the most premier like Southern California place to go.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Eyes on it and getting in the shops. That's good. And
Right,
in Utah's getting them on the mountain. That's one question I was going to ask is what do you think about people left the mountains go power surf, but it seems like everyone's kind of trickling back with the power surfers on the mountains.
right. I mean, I think that's cool. They would definitely need like designated areas for it. You know what I mean? Because it's condition dependent, and like you definitely can't ride them on groomers. So like it would have to be just really accessible from wherever they allow you to do it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say. I don't know how well it would go like at a bigger resort just because everyone's riding 100 miles an hour and the stuff gets trekked out pretty quick. Like I could see like mom and pop like June Mountain or something is like right next to Mammoth or like some of the mom and pop ones and around. I feel like people ride Stevens Pass like up in Washington with them.
Having a location where it's doesn't get tracked out like immediately is kind of important.
Right. Yeah, because it just makes it like less fun. I mean, you can handle the chop, but like it's much nicer to be able to go to like a clean, like just fresh area and enjoy it than have to do like the whole powder like chasing thing, you know, at a ski resort. But
Yeah, powder frantic.
right,
Kind of winding down questions here. These are kind of like the rapid question series.
okay.
Is there any particular board that you're proud of that you made, or are they all, or you're all proud of all of them?
I'm pretty proud of all of them. I have this one, it's like an Australian inspired shape that I was telling you about with like the rounded nose and like a rounded but pointy tail and has an edge bottom too. And that one's made out of like the same carbon fiber that like Mayhem surfboards are made out of. I'm really stoked on that one because like carbon's kind of like you have to be careful when you work with it and sand it and stuff like that. I don't know how many of those I'll like make because building them in I just think about getting the dust everywhere and like things like that. So yeah, I'm super stoked on that one. It's real light, it's real like rigid, flexes too. Like it's kind of got it feels like a smart flexing board and like the more faster you go with it, like the better it handles and stuff. It's pretty amazing stuff, that carbon. But it's a special type of carbon. It's like a 6 ounce carbon fiber biaxial weave. It's like more gray than black, but they developed it for Mayhem like surfboards. And it's what like Mayhem. I don't know if they like developed it just for them, but it's like hard to find on the market. And like this one guy out here, I know like sells it and sold me a little bit of it last year and I made two boards out of it. Like the material is just like wild, because the carbon fiber is so thin, but like when it hardens, it's like it's harder than like the thick 12-ounce biaxial stuff that I use, kind of like space age, like composite stuff, which is super cool. And like I said, rare because I don't really have like the dust collection set up super proper to like make a lot of those boards, where like maybe one a year or maybe one every 2 years or something like that is probably how that's going to unfold. So yeah, super proud of the carbon board. It's weird and next level and super fun.
That sounds pretty awesome right there.
Totally.
I see you've been sand surfing. How do you get into that?
Yeah. Well, the desert, like we go climbing and stuff, but there really isn't like a ton to do out here. I don't know. I sandboarded like way like when I was younger, like when I lived in Oregon, and I remember it being super fun. Yeah, I don't know. I just got like a wild hair. Found out about some dunes actually that are like local here. They're like smaller. An hour and a half east of here, there's like gigantic ones, which is pretty cool. We haven't been to the big ones yet. But yeah, just kind of got like excited about it and figured I'd try to like make them and like kind of test my building skills a little bit and see if I could like build a composite one, because like making something for the inserts was a little challenging to like make it look good and actually lay in the foam and make sure it was strong enough and stuff. Yeah, just kind of like did it out of like boredom, and just like having another thing to do because it is pretty fun. Like they work pretty well. When it gets hot, they get sticky. When it's cooler or there's not like any sun like on the sand and stuff, they're pretty fun to ride. And surprisingly, they glide pretty well for like a decent amount of time.
I never tried anything like that. It looks pretty fun, honestly.
Yeah, it's kind of gnarly. I mean, like where we are, it's not like pure sand dunes. It's like these dunes that formed on the back of a rocky mountain. So, and people like ride their dirt bikes and stuff. So there'll be like some rocks sometimes, or sometimes it'll be like completely smooth and like nice sand, it just changes all the time. Yeah, it's fun. I would say 6 out of 10. Like the first couple times you go, it's real sick. And then like after that, it's kind of like the glide's not totally there, and I don't think it ever could be really. You know what I mean? Especially like maybe on the beach sand, like towards the coast, but our sand's like kind of coarse and stuff, so it makes it harder. But they do have like Formica base on them, so that's like I guess the best you can do for sandboarding is throw some Formica on there.
Yeah, pretty hard.
Right. Yeah, it's hard. But I mean that sand it like buffs it down like right away. you know? It's pretty crazy.
If you could ride any place in the world, where would you like to try?
Hmm. I mean, I've never ridden in Utah, and I feel like Utah when it's going pretty gnarly would be fun. But then also like Europe, like riding glaciers and like stuff like that, I feel would be pretty sick. I know. I feel like Japan's kind of trendy, but at the same time, like I just feel like a little bit bigger mountain setup with like easier access would be the way to go.
If you had any pointers for people that want to get into making power surfers, what would you have to say for them?
I'd say just start, see what you can come up with because it's super fun. Even if you make the most basic thing out of wood, like it's still sick and it's still fun because you made it. And you never know like what you'll be inspired by or what you'll build next, you know what I mean? But it's cool to just start and have something that it's like growing your own food or something, like making your own boards is just like connects you to everything even more than like buying something from like a commercial company or something like that.
Yeah, a little bit more connection to it because you created it yourself.
Totally. Yeah, and it really, I mean, it's challenging, but also not, like it's pretty once you like do one, you're like, oh wow, like that's not that hard to do.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. But yeah, that's all the questions I got for you.
Awesome, man. Well, it was
Yeah.
definitely great chatting for sure. And hopefully we have a good winter.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys, did you guys have a decent winter last winter or no?
No, it was like the worst one in 100 years. But I mean, the super El Nino thing is definitely happening because where we live in the deserts, like we've been getting monsoonal like moisture here. So, normally it's like 10% humidity this time of year, and it's been 40 to 50% every day for like a month. And like the southern Colorado, Arizona's getting a bunch of monsoons and moisture and stuff right now. So, I mean, if it holds up, it looks like it could be good for like the southern United States, for this winter coming up.
Yeah. Hopefully it is.
I know we need it. I mean, it's California's drier than it's ever been, like always. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I definitely need water here for sure.
Definitely. All right.
All right, man.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks. You too.
Hope you all enjoyed that interview with Chad from Sunrise Snow Surf. And a big thanks for Chad for coming on to the podcast. Hope everyone has a great week and thanks, Snow.